All right, so as we begin to practice, kind of geared toward, let me just mute everybody here. That's geared toward our hips. Let's already start trying to figure out how our hips are feeling today. So, how are you sitting? A lot of times when we sit on nothing, on a flat surface like the floor, it can be very difficult and for us to keep a long, spacious spine. Often, when we sit up, I'm on a bolster right now. If you're up on something, the capacity for you to move your pelvis and tip your pelvis, which will help nestle your hip joints in a happy place, and your SI joints too, can do wonders, not only for the length of your spine, the capacity to stay upright, but also for the comfort of your pelvis and the comfort of your hips and back. So take some support underneath you, even if you don't normally try it, and see what it feels like to have some support. And once you have that, look down and notice if your hips and your knees are, where are they in relation to each other? So you want to have either that they're at the same height or your knees are slightly lower than your pelvis. So just get a sense of where you're at. If your knees are super high, and if you sit when your knees climb up, it's better to get your bottom up on some more height so that you have that balance. So once you're comfortable, notice the way your legs rotate out. Can you feel into the sense that this external rotation can just be easy right now? You can kind of fall into the comfort of your hip joints being slightly open like this. And then if you feel like that's difficult, if you're like gripping or tensing or can't relax your knees and let them fall, then try taking extra support. Either shove a pillow under your knee or blankets, something to support you. All right, so once you take the time to notice your comfort, let's just do a moment of a cat cow, seated cat cow here, where you're rounding the spine back and bringing the heart forward. And just a couple rounds of moving the spine here all the way to your crown and your tail. All right. And then feel free to move around any way you want. So you can kind of do some little circles. You can reach one arm up. We're just getting comfortable in a seated posture for a moment. So take your time. You can bring your hands behind you and support. So just take a moment to open up your body a little bit so that when you settle, whenever you start to settle, you have a sense of awakening and comfort through your whole torso. All right, and then begin to breathe. Rest the shoulders. See if you can feel like your shoulder blades can dip and slide down just a bit. The heart expansive. You don't have to push your chest forward or up. Just get the feeling that you are open. And let your head rest comfortably and easy atop your torso. Can you try to place your head in a way that feels effortless, that even though your head weighs a lot, that it's naturally supported over your spine. And then begin to pay attention to your breathing, noticing how the in-breath feels through your torso, your ribs, your chest. Notice how the exhale responds in the body. Ready, place your palms together at your heart and bow. Drop in, feel into the state of presence that happens when we bow our head, when we bring our hands together. In this space, offer an intention. What do you need? All right, let's go ahead and relax your hands. All right, so find your way onto your back. Start, as we always do, lying down on our spine. And bend your knees for a moment and just get um, to a place where your pelvis feels really comfortable, where you're at ease in your pelvis, where you don't feel like you're super rounded in your low back or super arched, just a nice neutral space. And then notice the weight of your femur bones. Can you feel, do you have more weight of one femur bone dropping into your pelvis than the other? Do you have a sense that you have equality or no for your pelvis? Do you feel like you tend to tip to the left or tip to the right? Okay, so just get a sense into the shape of your pelvis and how it is today. And then with your knees still bent, stretch your arms overhead. Find the breath. And then relax your arms. We're going to straighten our legs. Okay, bring your arms overhead again. We're going to cross the right ankle over the left and stretch your body. And then we're going to walk our torso over to the left a little bit and stretch your arms overhead. So just a little stretch through the side of your body, through your hip. And then coming back to center, unwind your legs, cross left ankle over right, and inch your torso on the floor over to the right. And then stretch through the left side of your body, grounding through both sides of your pelvis, trying not to turn to the right. And then come back and find a nice neutral pelvis again. Finding your breath, take your feet a little wider than hips and windshield wiper your knees left and right. All right, just warm up some twisting action for your pelvis and spine. All right. And then when we get the legs over to the left, pick up and you might need a block for this, pick up your left foot and put it on the outside of your right knee. And just open up the hip a little bit more this way and some deep internal rotation. So if you can't make it to the floor, you can always put a block underneath your right knee. Breathing well. Check in, make sure this is okay for your back. And then come back, unwind the legs, and windshield wiper again, just nice and gentle. And when you get over to the right side after a couple passes, you can pick up your right foot and put it on the outside of your left knee and drop your left knee down toward the floor. Like I said, you can always put a block underneath your knee if you need a little extra support, if your body doesn't want to go all the way to the floor. All right, so feel the stretch of that internal rotation. All right, then come back up and bring your knees to the chest. Rock a little bit, just check and make sure your low back is okay after that deep internal rotation and twisting. And then let's circle. So circle the knees one direction 2 or 3 times. Then circle the knees another direction 2 or 3 times. And just get used to the feeling of your SI joints, kind of massaging them on the floor. And then we're going to open up the hips away. So knees come away from the midline and then back toward the midline. And just notice what is the range of motion. This is, putting yourself in a little bit more extreme position. So just notice where your end points are. And do you have any tenderness or pain in your hip joints? Okay, so just paying attention, getting the state of affairs. All right, right knee coming into the chest, left leg stretches long on the floor. See if you can get the feeling of that extension and flexion simultaneously. Move around your ankles. Let's wake up your feet. You can wiggle your toes, whatever feels nice. All right, then go ahead and change sides. Left knee and right leg stretches long. Wiggle those toes, stretch around through your spine, crown and tail, move around your feet. Just get exploring through all the bones and fascia and ligaments and tendons. All right, then let's Just relax and bring your knee into your chest one more time. Some rocking here, side to side. And we're gonna open up and spread your wings. Big breath in, wiggle your fingers and your toes. Exhale, knees into your chest, head comes up. A couple of more times, finding your floating stars. So out you go, and then on the exhale, in you go. Release your head. Let's go ahead and roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. All right, so let's check in with the spine. Let's offer some nourishment here. So you can go slowly or you can go quickly, whatever feels best. Moving your body through some cat-cows. Feel free to move the spine around any way you want. So let your body be free. Do you want to circle? Do you want to sway? Just kind of find the movement that feels really good for your body this morning. And then eventually finding our way down to child's pose. Walk the hands, inch them far away so you have that long, spacious spine, the stretch through the chest and shoulders and back. Come back up. Cat-cow, arching the back, rounding the spine. Let's take our twist. Lift one arm up in the air, open the chest, and bring that arm through and come into a twist. Shoulders stay away from the ears. Enjoy your breathing. Just notice how nice it feels to open up the spine in this way. All right, as we come out of the pose, come back with your hips toward the heels. Unwind the arm a bit. Chest faces the floor. Just stretching the outside of the shoulder. Then inhale and reach that arm all the way back up again. Hand comes down. Change sides. Arm lifts up. Exhale. Arm comes through. All right, deep breaths here. Deep breaths. What does it feel like in your body? Are you enjoying this posture? Are you breathing through this posture? All right, as you come out, child's pose with your lower body, but your arm is still kind of underneath you, so you feel that stretch across your shoulder. Collarbones stay broad. And then inhale and reach that arm to the sky. Hand comes down onto the ground. All right, let's find dog pose. So as you come up, see what it feels like to pedal around, to move. You don't have to be still right away. Of course you can be, but if you want to just open yourself up a little bit, play. Sometimes movement in the beginning of our practice is a little more fruitful than a long hold of a stretch. It's a little bit more dynamic. It allows for a little bit more blood flow to kind of enter into the places where we're moving. All right, so let's enjoy. See if you can just enjoy. Ground yourself. Reach up through your spine. Heart lifting toward pelvis. Find the balance between your two sides. Symmetry. See if you can melt the skull, melt the face, let the skin fall away from the bones a bit. Notice your hands, root maybe a bit more through the inseam of your hand, the thumb and index finger. All right, and then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Deep forward fold. The knees can bend as much as you want. So feel now that our pelvis is tipping. So kind of pouring forward. And as we come to a halfway lift, grab your two blocks because we're going to hang out in a moment in this pose. But let's just do a pass through here. Halfway lift on the inhale. And then as you exhale, melt again. Knees can soften, let the head drop down. Enjoy the inversion. One more time, straight legs, straight spine, half lift, hands on blocks. Exhale and melt again. And let's come, this time we're going to stay in this half lift. So extend your spine. Feel the heads of the femur bones walk back a bit in the hip joints. Open up the feet and just notice where are you feeling this? You know, where's your body like, oh, thank goodness you're doing yoga. Do you ever have that feeling when, you know, maybe you haven't practiced in a few days and you get on your mat and you're like, oh, thank goodness this is what I'm choosing to do for my body right now. So take pleasure in your practice as often as you can. Root into the feet, four corners, lift the sit bones high. And then let's melt again. Soften the knees, relax the head, and then rise up. Seat comes down, chest comes up. Bring the arms up to the sky. Open through the heart. Chest is big and broad. Cactus the arms. Feel a little hugging in the back body. And then round the spine and forearms come to touch. Inhale. Rise up again. Chest is broad. And then exhale. And bring your forearms to touch. Third time, reaching the arms, open the chest, squeeze the back body, cactus, and then round the back body. Okay, let's release the hands and give them a good shake. Okay. All right, here you are standing. So are you already just a little bit more present and alive in your body? Do you feel better just in the warm up? For the way that you get to be grounded, the way you get to be embodied. Take an inhale, rise up, open the chest, exhale, and lower yourself. Inhale, halfway lift, spine gets longer. Exhale and melt. We're gonna step our right foot forward and come to a lunge. Now we start to get into the legs, into the hips a little bit. So let's go ahead and place the back knee down on the ground or on a blanket, unless that's a really bad feeling for your body, in which case keep the knee up and just enjoy. Lift the chest, maybe bring the hands a little higher, feel the hip flexors open, breathing deep. And then lift that back knee off the floor and come to our usual practice where we bend our front knee and then we straighten our front leg. So just going back and forth. Feel your way into opening up the hamstrings, opening up the hip flexors, but also feeling the compression in the hip. You know, when we bend the knee and then straighten it, we're not changing that much in the hip. And notice what you do change. All right, let's find our lunge. Ground your legs, feel the feet, find the earth, and then rise up, crescent lunge. Opening up that hip flexor of the back leg again. So open up, reach up, maybe a little back if your body can handle a little bit of the back bend, try a little bit of the back bend. You can even go deeper by taking your right hand behind you and holding your leg and lifting your left arm up in the air. Find your breath. And then reach the arms up again. Hands come down onto the ground. Back foot comes forward. Bend your knees and relax. Halfway lift again. Spine is longer. Sit bones come high. Step your right foot back. So now our left foot is coming forward. Come into a lunge. And if it's comfortable for you, place your knee down on the ground. Just so you get a different sensation of stretching the hip flexors of that back leg. Let's open up through the front of the pelvis. You can put your hands on blocks or on your leg. Find your breath, soft shoulders down. Okay, let's curl the toe under and come into a lunge. Start to find your strength. The legs ground and roots. Spine gets longer. And then let's start to move, straightening and bending the front knee. Feeling into the dynamic nature of breathing, moving, stretching. There was something in my inbox, in my email. I didn't read the whole article, but it talked about how stretching can also help prevent cognitive decline, not just aerobic exercise. So that, piqued my curiosity for some of the ways in which we move in our yoga practice. All right, so ground yourself, feel your roots, rise up when you're ready. All right, so feel the open heart, lean back a little bit if it feels nice to do so. Feel into the work of the legs. So ground through your front foot, let the heel descend so that you feel your glutes and your hamstrings working. If you want to do that extra stretch by taking your left arm behind and grabbing onto your right leg, you can do that too. Breathing deeply, no matter where you are, wherever you end up. And then relax and bring the hands down, dog pose. Stretch that foot back. Enjoy the openness of the body. Breathing well. We're going to take our feet wide on the mat, so right to the edges, and turn your feet in. Feel the inner spiral of your thighs, a release of your inner thighs moving back. Still stretching open through the feet, the lift of the sit bones. Find your breath. And notice maybe your breath feels different when your legs are wider. All right, we're going to come forward into a plank so you can return your feet back to a neutral place if you want. Start to feel the integrity of your core support. Shoulders are away from the ears. Inner thighs still lifting to the sky. Breathe well. Let the exhales feed your core strength. Let the inhales take you. So you want the breath to take you somewhere. Feel the ribs expand wherever they can. All right, find your way to the ground. You can put your knees down first if you want. Roll the shoulders a few times. Just get into that feeling that you have some space around your neck. And then reach up into cobra pose. Open chest. Exhale. And melt back down. One more time. All right, come up onto all fours. Move your spine about. We're going to find our way all the way back to child's pose and feel the compression in the hip joints. Open things up here. Come up onto all fours. Move the spine about. Okay. Then find your way to dog pose again. Full breaths in and away. As you're ready, walk your feet forward and relax into Uttanasana again. Halfway lift. Melt again. Now let's take our feet wide, like the dog pose, wide to the edges of your mat and come to a squat. So as for some of us, we like having our feet turned straight. For some of us, we like a little turn out. So just let your feet and your knees kind of follow each other. So you don't want to have your feet turned out and your knees caved in. So just let your feet and your knees be on the same plane wherever that lands. So we're going to go deeper in our squat in a moment, but for right now, keep your hips as high as your knees, maybe higher, maybe in line with your knees, you decide. Elbows can be on the inside of knees or on top. Extend the spine. See what it feels like to open up the inner thighs a little bit, ground through the four corners of your feet. All right, stand on up. Standing start. If you get dizzy, be very mindful on the way up and down. You can always pause and squeeze to the midline. Bring your palms together to heart. We're going to take our legs wider so you can turn to the side edge of your mat if you want. And we're going to come down into goddess pose. Okay. So open up the chest here, ground through your feet, spin your feet. So drop four corners of feet into the earth and then pull your toes toward the wall behind you. And drag your heels toward the wall in front of you. And just feel the extra lighting up that happens in our body. You don't have to be super deep. You can be higher than, your pelvis can be way higher than your knees, or you can be down that low, whatever it feels very self-supporting and balanced left and right. Deep breaths. and then climb all the way up. Spread out. Okay, turn your feet. So we're on the long edge of your mat now. Turn your foot to the right, your right foot out, I should say, and find your way into Parsvakonasana. Elbow on the knee or hand on the block, and stretch your arm overhead. Ground through your legs. Can you still feel that work in the hips that you just cultivated in your goddess pose? Soft shoulders away from the ears. Stay rooted. Such a great way to really move our hips in a way that we don't move very often through our day. So much of our day we're in flexion and extension mode, but not so much the external rotation and the abduction. Okay, so let's turn to the other side. Left foot turns out now, come into Parsvakonasana, and remember all the things you know. If your knee is struggling, you can support with having a block against a piece of furniture, a wall. There's ways to allow your body to be in these postures, even when joints are a little unhappy. And so if your hip is unhappy, sometimes the pose can be literally right here, where you have very little bend in the hip joint or knee, but it's enough to get you to start feeling that dance of the external rotation that can happen in the hip joint. So don't worry about depth, just go where your body's able. Breathe well. So if you're a little higher, the pose might look like this, where your hand is on your leg instead of your elbow. So you just decide, ground through your feet, open up, feel length everywhere you can. Feel the four corners of both feet root into the earth to give you power, and then extend through the spine. Keep the neck as soft as you can. All right, and when you're ready, go ahead and find your way out of that posture. Heel toe your feet in. We're going to come back to the front of your mat. Okay, stand in Tadasana and just let the external rotation that you just did kind of be absorbed in the body. So pause for a moment. Deep breaths. Okay, inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale and fold forward. Feet are hip width apart, but now we're going to take them wider. You can put your hands on blocks to support you if you need. Okay, so a wide-legged Uttanasana, straight legs. Find the breath. And remember your toes and your knees being on the same plane, and you can bring your feet a little closer, a little farther, whatever feels natural. We're going to come into a lower squat. So Malasana, if you are garland pose, if you can get down all the way, into a deep squat, great. And if you struggle, be where you are. If your heels can't touch the floor, try putting a blanket under your heels. If it's too much pressure on your pelvis, you can sit on a block, which takes away some of the pressure on your hips, knees, and pelvic floor. Okay, so just find a place that is a happy place or somewhat happy for you to land. So deep squatting is a really good, skill for us to try to maintain throughout our lives. And if an ankle, knee, or hip has taken that deep squat away from you, just go where you can. Okay. Feel the spine stay upright. Breathe well. All right, we're going to take a little twist here. So left arm, we're going to take the armpit toward the knee and inhale the right arm up. So left arm down, right arm up. Find your breath. Now notice your weight is going to shift into one leg. So see if you can stay balanced. And then we're going to switch sides. Okay, so take that arm on the inside of the knee. Other arm coming up to the sky. Even out the weight through your feet. All right, and then come back. Lift your hips high. Heel toe your feet to a place where there's comfortable for you. So it might be regular Uttanasana or a little wider. You decide. Maybe your hands come on blocks. You decide. Sit bones come high. And then exhale and melt. Rise all the way up. Okay, open up the pelvis a little bit. See if you can stretch into just a little bit of the standing back bend. And then relax your arms down at your sides. Right foot forward, left foot's back, come into a lunge. Just enjoy the openness of that hip flexor in the back after the deep squats. Rise up, crescent lunge. Reaching the arms to the sky. And then bring your hands down onto the blocks. Half splits. Lengthen through your spine. Feel your glutes turn on. And then place that foot down onto the ground. Go backwards through this. Half splits. Standing on your left foot. Reach into the spine. Find your breath. An inhale, following an exhale, following an inhale. Just keep the breath moving. When you are ready, step back to a lunge. Round into that crescent lunge on this side and enjoy the hip flexor opening here. Deep breaths. So sometimes, when we're working with the hips, we want to compress. Sometimes we want to open. Want to just find as much range of motion as is available to us. Walk your back foot forward and come to Tadasana. Find the breath. Practicing just a little bit of balance. Root your right foot down, lift your left leg up. Finding the breathing body. Foot comes down, other side. So we're just testing the waters of balance, kind of turning on our brain in this way. All right, back into the right foot. A little more challenge of a balance. We're going to tip over to the side a bit. Engage your core, your outer hips. Stretch and open through your spine. Find your deep breath. It's like we're getting caught midair and about to do a cartwheel. Okay, put that foot down onto the ground. Switch over to the left. Spread open your wings, toes in the air, turn forward, face forward. Use your core, not just your legs, to support you. Keep the neck as soft as you possibly can. Okay. Exhale and relax. Tadasana. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, chair pose. All right, feel the compression. Feel the hips draw way back. The weight is in the heels. Turn on your glutes and hamstrings. Press your heels into the ground. Slowly rise all the way back up. Exhale and fold forward. Halfway lift. Whatever foot you always step back first, try stepping the other foot back first. Come into a plank. Hold yourself steady. And then bring your knees down onto the ground. Move my blocks out of the way for a moment. All right, we're going to bring our left leg straight back behind us. And we're going to bring that leg out to the side, so much so that we bring it to touch the floor, your toes to touch the floor. It's an odd movement. Bring that leg back. Place that knee down onto the ground. Second side, stretch the leg straight out. Bring the leg out to the side, which we do, a fair amount in our practice. We're going to keep going, and touch the toe onto the floor. And then back up and bring that knee back. One more time. We're going to bring the left leg out to the side, touch the toe onto the floor. So my foot is in line with my opposite knee, and then lift it up and bring it back. One more time, other side. Leg stretches back behind you, out to the side. Keep going. Tap your foot down in line with your other knee. Bring it back up. Come back down. Child's pose. Settle your hips. Breathe deeply. We're going to come to lie down on our right side. Okay, so simple leg lifts. You can bring the arm in the air. If you need a little more balance, you can bring your hand to the ground. We're gonna lift the leg. Now I have furniture that always gets in my way. So just find a place where you can do this comfortably. We're gonna lift the leg and then lower the leg. So sometimes we do this and we hold, and we will in a moment. Let's try a handful of leg lifts first. Okay, 2 more. Lifting up and then lowering down. How is your breath? And now pause for just a moment, because we're going to lift and hold. So gather up your stability. So feel that you're on a straight line, that you're not tipping forward or backward. Use your core. Try to cinch your waist a bit, like you're drawing a drawstring around your waist. And now lift that leg in the air. Press your leg into the ground so the right leg presses into the earth as much as the left leg lifts in the air. You can have your arm in the air or on the ground, whichever feels best. Keep the neck relaxed. Relax. Go ahead and roll over onto your back. Bring your knees to your chest and rock a little bit. And then we're going to come over to the other side. So laying on our left, you can have your hand on the ground to support you, or a little more challenging, hand in the air. So you decide what feels best for you today. And let's do a handful of lifts. So, typically we enjoy inhaling when we kind of move up and exhaling when we come down, but you might want to try switching that. So just see where you naturally want to breathe. Try to keep yourself stacked so the right and the left are stacked on top of each other. All right, then take a moment. You can even bend your knees if you want. Just let your body rest. It's a little more fatiguing on the second side because this isn't just a one-sided movement. We're actually working with both hips at the same time. Okay, stretch your legs straight. Try to stack shoulder over shoulder, rib over rib, hip over hip. So we're on a line. Keep the legs straight if you can. And we're going to, so if you need balance, use your hand. We're going to lift that leg up. Toes face forward. So notice if you want to lean back, if you want to lean forward, if you try to compensate. Now press your left leg into the ground as much as your right leg is lifting in the air. Stabilize with your core as much as your legs. Breathing deep. And then relax. Let that be. Come rolling onto your back and bring your knees to your chest. So there's a fair amount of work involved in that. So just let your body rest now and relax. That gluteus medius and minimus, they're very deep stabilizing muscles. So we want to give them, we don't want to overtax them. We want to work them, but then we want to also give them a chance to rest so that when we ask them to work again, they're available and we're not compensating in weird ways. Put your feet onto the ground. Relax your pelvis, your spine, your hips for a moment. And then as you're ready, let's go ahead and lift into a bridge pose. So hips come high. Find your breath. Ground through your feet, 4 corners. Now, imagine pulling your feet, well, you don't have to imagine, do it. Pull your feet apart from each other to feel those outer hips, make sure they're working, and then re-neutralize 4 corners of feet moving down. Melt and release a little bit. We're going to do this while lifting one leg just a little bit off the floor. So bring your feet ever so slightly closer together. And then lift up again. So it's going to feel like a narrow bridge. Once you're ready, ground through your left big toe, especially, but all 4 corners, and lift your right leg up. You can lift it all the way up if you want, or you can just hover, or you can bring your knee to your chest, whatever feels good. And then place that right foot down onto the ground. Ground your foot and lift the left leg. And lift the pelvis Keep the neck as neutral as you can. All right, and then bring that foot down and come to rest. Find the breath. Relax here for a moment. Breathing well. All right, now let's go ahead and roll over onto our side and come up onto your hands and your knees. All right, so move your spine about. Just let your pelvis relax. You can wag your tail, whatever feels good. Curl the toes under and lift back up to a dog pose. Feet hip width apart. So those muscles, that we just kind of turned on, you find them now again by pressing your toes into the ground and then pulling your feet away from the midline. Notice if you feel stronger on one side versus the other. All right, walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana, relax the legs, halfway lift, melt again. We're gonna come down onto our knees and take your right leg onto the ground and bring you have a choice here. So we're going to come into Vasisthasana with our knee on the floor. You can have your right shin perpendicular or parallel. So you can have your foot turning back, or you can bring your foot so it faces the left foot. Okay, so decide on the pathway you want to be. If you're having your foot face the other foot, this is much more difficult balance-wise. So just know that as you come into the posture. Okay, we're gonna find our way and lift the other leg in the air. Open chest. So kind of like Ardha Chandrasana, but we're on our knee. Press your shin wherever it is onto the ground. Engage your core. Find your breathing. Okay, and then relax. Come on to all fours. Decide whether you want to have your shin perpendicular or parallel for the second side. Sometimes if you need a little more balance, try taking the left hand out to the left a little bit more. Come onto that shin, reach the arm in the air. When you're ready, lift your leg. Shoulders away from the ears, find your breath. Use your core as much as you can. Press your shin into the ground. Breathing well. The neck does not, the neck always wants to take over for just about everything. Let it relax. And then come back all fours. Move your spine about, wag your tail, and settle back towards child's pose. Find your way to dog pose, lengthen through your spine here. Deep breath in and away. Okay, let's lift the right leg up in the air and stack open the hip. Feel into the stretch. You can bend your knee or straighten it, whatever feels nice. And then square things up again and bring that foot forward to a lunge. Walk your back foot forward too. Okay. Halfway lift. Feel the symmetry. And then back you go. Dog pose. Long spine. Feel the symmetry before we move into asymmetry. Now the left leg is lifting. Stack open the hip if you want. Try not to fall so much. Lift under the armpit. Lift your right femur bone up and back. Your left knee can bend or your left leg can be straight. All right, square up the hips again. Place that foot, bring it forward. Left foot coming forward. Okay, let's join with the other foot. Uttanasana. Halfway lift. And melt again. Drop your hips, lift your chest, come up to stand. You might want to do this without the need for balance, so you can always put your buttocks against a wall or a piece of furniture if you want. Figure 4 pose. So we're going to come into developing that external rotation of the hip again. Sit bones come wide. Bring your arms up overhead or out or palms together. wherever you naturally want to go. So you can always, do this pose, leaning your body against a piece of furniture or a wall. So you take the balance out of the equation and just come into opening up the hip. Full breaths here. All right, stand on up. Place that foot down onto the ground. Pause in between your two sides. So you feel that balance of weight coming into both feet. All right, rooting your body, left leg coming down, right foot coming up. So we can do funky things to try to compensate. Sometimes we turn our pelvis, sometimes we stick the hip out. We can do all sorts of weird things to try to get away from having to rotate and flex and abduct at the same time. So allow yourself to come into this pose. By all means, take some support of the wall or a piece of furniture. Open chest. So remember that chair pose. Remember that one-legged bridge pose. Find your way into the support of one leg. Spine gets long. Okay, and then come on out. Two arms to the sky. And relax in Tadasana. Feel your roots. Just enjoy. All right. Take your legs wide on your mat. We're coming into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. We're going to start it from a triangle pose. So turn your right foot out. Tip your pelvis a bit so we get used to finding that external rotation of that right leg. A straight right leg, ground through the back heel. So take your body as deep into the pose as you want to go. The chest stays open. Breathe fully. All right. Bend your knee. We're going to hop up. Now, once again, you can do this posture against a wall or some sort of support to help you. We're going to find our way into Ardha Chandrasana. Put all this together. Use your core. Externally rotate your standing leg. Lift the leg in the air. Use those outer hip muscles. Soften the knee you're standing on so you're not locking out. Keep the length of your spine. Breathing well. A giant step back to come out of the pose the way you came in. We're going to find our way to the second side. Okay. So as you find triangle pose, tip the pelvis. We're allowing our pelvis to move. We want to let the femur bone sink very deeply into the hip socket. Place the hand onto a block or your leg wherever you naturally go. Get used to that standing leg, the front leg, externally rotating, deeply flexing at the hip joint, extending through the spine at the same time. Ground both legs. Find your breath. And when you're ready, we're going to find our way into this posture. So bend your knee if you need to. You can bring the back foot in so that you have a little gateway to get up there into the posture. And lift yourself up. Hand on block. Be very mindful to be light on that block. Lift your leg in the air. Feel the external rotation of your standing leg. Feel the knee soften. Root into the ground. Find your balance by focusing on something that doesn't move. Maintain your breath instead of trying to hold your breath. Don't worry if you fall out, if your balance is not so great. Balance is always a work in progress. It's not a result. It's an action. Okay. And a big giant step out, coming out the way you came. Tadasana. Breathing well. We're going to move into some balance and symmetry here. So open up. Lean back, exhale, bend your knees and float into Uttanasana. Let your back relax. Let your knees soften as much as you want to. Melt your head. Halfway lift, spine gets longer. Exhale and release. Last pass through of vinyasa, come back to a plank. Integrate. Find your breathing. Lower your knees down if you want. Inhale, cobra pose. And then exhale and melt. Again, pause here for a moment. Just let your body relax. We're going to bring our left knee up high toward our chest. Just allow that to soften. Turning it into a twist, take your right arm over to the left side of your mat, spin open for a twist here. Let the hip relax, let that back of your left hand make it to the floor. And come back around. Change sides. Left knee coming high toward the armpit. Just enjoy the deep flexion. Let your back relax. Take your left arm and cross it over to the right side of the mat and twist open. Go so far that you can allow your right hand, the back of the hand, to rest on the ground. Your knee can leave the ground as much as you need. Enjoy the stretch across your chest, through your spine, into your hip. And roll on back. Come up onto all fours. Move the spine around. And then bring your legs close together and find child's pose. And come over onto our back. Bring your knees to your chest and rock a little bit. Just soften your pelvis, your hips, your spine. Perhaps if you feel like you need some support for your back, you can either do happy baby pose with a little bit of rocking or stillness, or perhaps you want something even deeper than that, and you'd like to bring your knees over your forehead. So like a modified plow. All right, so allow yourself to start settling for Shavasana. So if there's a pathway that you need to get there, if there's another pose you need to do or anything that you need for support, go ahead and do whatever it is that's needed. Allow yourself the ease and comfort of this posture. Allow your limbs to soften and settle into the ground. And let your head, consider your head to be a limb. So allow your head, the weight of your head to soften. Start to feel into your breath. Melt all the ways that your face expresses. Just be thankful for the gift of Shavasana. Be present for it as much as you can. Keep the mind right here in the breath and in the body. Let's begin to deepen our breathing very slowly. Start the process of feeling the deep place expand instead of having it go away. Just expand your sense of self, your awareness of your body. Melt your body. Enjoy your breath. Just feel into the beauty of your exhales, the freshness of your inhales. Perhaps start to wiggle your fingers or your toes. actually finding your way, coming on to your side. There's no rush. Just take your time to transition. Let's enjoy a centered moment here. So bow in to your practice. Feel the centering. Take a deep breath. Let it all out. And offer the grace of your practice. Share your energy with another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.